Hey everyone, it's Chris Loud. Sometimes an abstract painting starts to suggest something, and the best thing we can do is just follow it. That's exactly what happened here. I started with a 15-minute abstract prompt, and about halfway through, the shapes began to give me the impression of a bird. And instead of ignoring it, I leaned into it, and the whole painting drastically changed direction and style. The prompt I started with is called Ink and Ember. The time limit was 15 minutes to paint using a limited palette of Cadmium Red, Payne's Gray, and Hansa Yellow, which I was out of, so I used Cadmium Yellow Light. And then I also could use black and white. And the goal was to create visual tension between deep, inky darks and fiery, warm highlights using strong value dominance. And this is, one that definitely went way outside the original idea and goal. But I like where it went, and think the end result was an interesting and definitely unexpected painting. So in this video, I want to talk about letting your painting evolve and recognizing when something unexpected starts to emerge. And if you like painting prompt exercises, I've put the link for the 50 abstract warm-up painting prompts download in the description below. These are great for getting started quickly and exploring ideas without overthinking. And before we jump in, I also want to say thank you to Christine, Susan, Steve, Carol, Alice, and Rebecca for the super thanks and coffee support. I really appreciate it. It truly does help keep these videos going, so thank you so much. I started this one just focusing on the prompt, working with that tension between the dark Payne's Gray and the warmer red and yellow. And then I put down some Mars Black and Payne's Gray with a broken stick and a bristle flat brush, and then roughly added in some of the yellow and red and let them mix on the page to create a kind of broken orange. And I wasn't thinking about painting anything representational at all. I was just trying to build interesting marks and shapes and contrast and thinking how I might represent the essence of the prompt's goal, and then also the title, Ink and Ember. And that's usually how I like to start. I keep it loose and respond to what's happening and let the painting build naturally. There's typically no plan beyond the prompt itself. And sometimes that's when interesting things start to happen. When you're not trying to paint something recognizable, your mind is a little more open and shapes can start to suggest something on their own. That's exactly what began to happen as this developed. I get comments all the time pointing out at certain points in the videos where people recognize certain recognizable things that were unintentional. So this is definitely one of those. As I was painting, I started to kind of recognize myself. So right here, this is about 8 minutes into the 15 minutes. I started noticing that some of the shapes were beginning to suggest a bird. It wasn't intentional, it just kind of appeared. And this is one of those moments that I think is really valuable to pay attention to. Sometimes a painting starts to suggest something, and we either ignore it or we lean into it. Here I decided to lean into it and see what would happen. That's where things really began to change direction. I saw this kind of a bird's head, and not a specific type of bird. I looked at this and thought, oh, maybe I could just do something that's kind of almost like abstract realism, have a little bit of a bird's head in this abstract painting and kind of keep going with the goal a little bit in that prompt. But I've very quickly decided, let's just keep playing and just see what happens. So you can see I'm using I think this is a number 8 bright brush, and just putting down some paint that kind of looks like feathers. And one of the biggest benefits of working this way is that it keeps the process exploratory. We're not forcing the painting to match an idea. We're allowing the painting to help generate the idea. And that can lead to results that we wouldn't have planned. It also keeps the painting feeling more natural. When something emerges organically, it tends to feel more integrated into the surface than if we try to impose it later. It creates a certain energy that is not easy to replicate. It's just something that flowed as we were putting down marks. And this ended up going well beyond the 15-minute exercise. Normally I try to stick to that time limit, but once this started to develop, I just followed it. And, I think that's okay. The 15-minute prompt is there to get us started. It's not a rule we have to follow rigidly. If something interesting is happening, it's worth continuing. Or walk away at 15 minutes and come back to it and play with it. Sometimes the exercise becomes something more, and that's actually one of the best outcomes. And I did jump ahead just slightly at one point, but at the end of the video, I'll show you some close-ups in the final painting so you can see how it all came together. And another thing that really helped here was the limited palette. Even as the painting became more representational, those colors kept everything united. And I stuck with the color palette on this, even when the direction changed. The Payne's gray creates the structure and depth, while the cadmium red and cadmium yellow light bring the warmth and energy. Because the palette is limited, the painting still holds together, even as the direction changed. That's another advantage to working with prompts like this. The constraints help maintain cohesion. And as I leaned into the bird shape, I tried to keep some of the abstract qualities. I didn't want it to become overly detailed or tight. I wanted it to sit somewhere between abstract and representational. It ended up bordering a bit on impressionistic, which I actually liked. It still feels painterly and loose, even though it's more recognizable. This is also something that can be really fun to explore, letting an abstract painting drift toward representation without fully committing to realism. I don't know what type of bird this is. It looks familiar to me, but I had no bird really in mind. So if you look at this and think, oh, that's this type of bird, leave me a comment, let me know. I have no idea what it is. It's got a pretty large bill for such a small bird. And I left the feathers somewhat, I almost call it a fuzzy bird at the end. It reminds me of a bird that's out in the winter and they kind of fluff their feathers out and almost look kind of fluffy or fuzzy, I should say, and fluffy. So the big takeaway here is to stay open to what our paintings are suggesting. We don't always have to stick to the original plan. Sometimes the most interesting direction is the one we didn't intend. Following those moments can lead to new ideas, new approaches, and even new types of paintings we might not normally try. I've painted probably 6 or 7 birds total in the 6 years I've been painting. And I really enjoy it. But, I'm by no means an expert at painting birds. I just have fun doing it and kind of exploring that. Like I said, this is actually not something I do very often, leaning into representational work. So it felt like a nice change. I do some now and then. I'd like to do more, but I typically focus on abstract. So I wasn't real fond of this background. Obviously, I just kind of used a mix of the warmer colors and whited those out. So I went ahead and did a mix of Payne's gray and cadmium yellow light to create a green color, and then added a little bit more Payne's gray as I went into some areas just to give a variety of that green. And I just wanted it somewhat rough and blurred in areas, but I think that helped pull the warmer bird forward. So you can see I'm mixing that now and just kind of playing on the page with those green colors. If you're trying this yourself, you might start with a prompt like this. Keep things loose and then just watch for anything that begins to emerge. It doesn't have to be a bird. Obviously, it can be a landscape, a figure, or just a shape that starts to develop more structure. The key is staying flexible and letting the painting guide us a bit. So really, the goal isn't to turn every abstract painting into something representational. It's just to stay open to what might happen. Let the painting suggest possibilities and then decide whether you want to follow them. Sometimes nothing emerges, and that's totally fine too. But when it does, those can be some of the most rewarding paintings because they come from that sense of discovery rather than planning. And this one definitely felt like that. It started as a simple abstract exercise and then slowly evolved into something I didn't expect. But I really enjoyed exploring this, and I really like the outcome of it. Still trying to figure out what kind of bird it is, or if it is a real bird. But if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love for you to leave me a comment. So I continued playing with this just for a few more minutes after the video ends, and I'll show you at the end. I played with the feathers a little bit more, and also the background just a little bit more to help give it a little bit more form. But again, this was a hard one to stop playing with, but I didn't want to kind of mess with the energy that was already there. So this one definitely took a turn I wasn't expecting it, but I had a great time following that direction and seeing where it went. And I'm curious, would you like to see more representational paintings or abstract realism or impressionistic style paintings? Let me know in the comments if that's something you would like me to do more of. I don't do that too often, but something I do enjoy now and then. So I'm going to show you some close-ups here so you can see some of the texture in the feathers, and there's still some of the underpainting, the initial painting that shows through. The beak obviously is a big part of that, but I'll show you those in the close-ups here. So here's a close-up of that head, and like I said, the beak is definitely some of that underpainting and some of the texture there in the feathers. Just using a very small flat brush to get the texture there. And here's the final painting. So thank you so much for watching, and keep on painting.